All right, I call to order the Roads and Safety Committee meeting of July 10th, 2025, and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
McIntyre.
Here.
Coffee. Here. Reel.
Present.
Herman.
Here. All right, the reason for, obviously for those listening in the audience and those watching the live stream, we're starting with Roads and Safety today. Planning Committee was supposed to meet due to some traffic delays. We have members of that committee that aren't here, and we don't have a quorum to hold that meeting. As soon as they get here, that meeting will be take place. So let's move on to the first thing on the agenda is the approval of minutes of the June 12th, 2025 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve as circulated.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Yes. No's, abstentions. Those minutes stand approved. City officials reports. Mr. Wren, can you kind of give us, I know we don't have public improvements, but can you kind of give us an update on all the water main breaks and where we stand with the water tower projects? I know it's been an ongoing thing until that gets back up.
Yeah, water's been on 12-hour shifts, 7 days a week. And Jeff and Jerry have also been on 12-hour shifts to monitor the SCADA system. And there's a reason you have a water tower to help balance out the system. So we did get word that July 28th is the day we could start filling up the water tower. So once that, I guarantee when we fill it, we're going to have more water main breaks, but then once everything settles down after it's back to capacity, then we should go back to just our normal 2-3 breaks a week. But we've had like 22 in 2 weeks. So
What is the oldest, I guess, what is the oldest age of the areas that are breaking? Is there anything?
it's literally all, the one day we had 5 and they were all in different areas of the city. So it's just random at this point. Any place there's a weak connection because we turn it down at night because there's not that much water usage, and then ramp it up at 7 in the morning. It shakes the system, but we wouldn't have enough water if we were running 85 PSI all day. So we go up to 85 PSI for the normal day. And that's generally when we're seeing a lot of the issues. But unfortunately, it's the cost of doing business because we can't have anything in the tower while it's being painted or the warranties go away.
So fingers crossed, everything should be back to balanced out after we fill the water tower. We may encounter a few more breaks just because of that going back to.
Yeah, beginning of August, we should be back to normal.
Okay, thank you. Police chief, fire chief, any updates, anything you'd like to for tonight's meeting?
The only thing I would like to say is I thought the 4th of July went off very well with the security and with planning. I want to give kudos to Linda Narsat and her team. There was a lot of preparation for that, and I thought it went very well. And we were very happy with the results.
I was going to say the same thing before I gave him the mic first. So kudos to Parks. I think it was a very safe and very effective, very well attended parade.
How did the fireworks calls go for, I know fireworks are the weekend before, the weekend of, and the weekend after, I think, is what the law says. What were the calls like?
We actually put it out on our social media not to call us, not that they can't call us, but just with giving the rules and that we would not respond when fireworks were being lit during the appropriate hours. So we did not get that many calls, but after hours we did get calls and we investigated those.
Okay.
We had a few issues with dry weather conditions and fireworks, and we just had to remind people to make sure they had provisions for when those fireworks went awry. Otherwise, it wasn't too awful bad.
All right, thank you. Questions for the chiefs or Mr. Wren? All right, seeing none, we will move on to the consideration of business items tonight. We have 3 items on the agenda. First item is 2025-149. I believe this is for you, Chief Bill.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. I don't know if the contract, Drew, if you want to handle that, or if you just want me to talk about the whole program, I can do that.
I think if you just talk about the whole program, and if they have any questions about the contract, I can take it from there.
Sure, thank you. Just to give a little background, I did send emails out to all council today, so I didn't know if they had an opportunity to read that or not. But Over a year ago, we started preparing for Officer Barry Smith's retirement and looking at potential SRO for his replacement. And at the time, we had 3 applicants apply, and Officer Bethany Childers took that position. At the time, we knew that the MOU that was original from when Officer Smith first went into the SRO position needed updated, so we've been working on that for almost a year. During those discussions with the school administration, Dr. Gould and Mark Treen, we identified some issues with our current SRO program and the inability to fill the positions. It was considered an outside job, which means the school pays the officers directly to be at the different schools in the city, 2 8-hour shifts every day. And this originally started back in just right after Sandy Hook, which was in December of 2012. So 2013, we started doing this program. The past several years, it's just been a very difficult job for us to fill every day during the school year. And as council knows, I can't mandate that officers work side jobs and fill those positions outside of their employment with the city of Stow. And that being said, I knew that the school was looking at cutbacks financially. We started examining different types of SRO programs with the help of Councilwoman Kelly Coffey, who got me a lot of information initially on the part-time model. I was not a fan of hiring part-times, being a 34 union member. I didn't really want to bring in part-time officers into our organization. However, we had the opportunity to post the position again for the fall SRO position at the high school, and no officers applied in our department. There was no interest in it whatsoever. We even went back to those officers that applied the previous year, and with the establishment of 12-hour shifts, there was just no interest in going back to an 8-hour, 5-day-a-week shift at the high school. Officer Bethany Childers worked with us, with Lieutenant Steve Miller, who did a lot of the legwork, and with the school administration, and we were able to improve that position out at the school, improve our relationship out with the school, because after Barry Smith left after doing it 20 plus years, bringing somebody new in, they just didn't know the system, and it took a little while for them to feel comfortable. We do have that position filled for the fall and for the future. We also have a DARE officer that works 3 days a week in the schools teaching the DARE program, and when he's not teaching the DARE program, he acts in the capacity of an SRO. Both he and Bethany Childers, Officer Bailey, have SRO training and are certified. We then re-examined this part-time position, SRO position. We're going to call it just a test model, I guess, and I met with my command staff several times to discuss the positives and negatives of developing a program like this. We met with we had a labor management meeting yesterday, met with the unions, and their primary concern was that we're not going to bring part-timers in to work, to work shifts and to decrease overtime. It was discussed with Drew was there along with Steve Hooten, our deputy law director, and we agreed that we would come up with an agreement that between an MOU with the union to assure them that this if we do go forward with this model, that it would be primary focus would be just to be full-time in the schools during the school year, then they would be off in the summertime. It was pointed out by Lieutenant Prussia that we have some training in the summertime, especially like the active shooter training, and so they would be required to do that training, obviously, during the summer when we do have that training. So we do have support from the unions. We have support from the administration. Finance, we have met with finance on numerous occasions to discuss how we would pay for this. As City Council knows, I've asked for quite a few officers the last 2 years. We are still not full staff. As a matter of fact, our last hire to bring us up to full staff is not going to happen until Monday, when we have the swearing in of our newest officer. And so if we were able to get 2 officers to fill these positions for the fall school year, which is only a month away. I think that's unreasonable, but sometime this fall, we're hoping to fill these positions. It would not affect our budget. We would not come back to city council for additional funds because we're well under our operating costs at this point. Just so a couple questions were asked about additional equipment. The school has said that they were not sure if, with their new budget, if there was going to be funding for them to continue the 2 officers per day at the schools, and the fact that that model was not working and not efficient, it gives them more reason to believe that this would be a much more appropriate model. I have been in contact with departments all across the state that have similar models. Just so council does know, a lot of departments pay 100% of the SRO cost. There's quite a few cities that the schools pay 100% of the SRO cost, especially when you're only talking like 1 officer. But we have 9 schools in the district. If you include, I believe if you include Holy Family, it's 10. Holy Family has shown interest in this model. I've already met with them, but that would be a separate issue. So doing a hybrid method where there's a 60-40 split, in this case, the school would pay 60%, we would pay 40%. I've seen 75-25. I just talked to the city of Cuyahoga Falls, and they think theirs is more 90%. They pay 10%, the school pays. But they've also taken a few of the SROs out of the schools just because of financial reasons. So this model is new. And there's 2 pieces of legislation. The first is the contract with the school. Without the approval of the contract, we would not be able to move forward. There's also later on in another committee, there's to change the compensation plan to add a part-time, permanent, full-time, part-time, permanent, part-time SRO position. And the looking at the other models across the state and in Summit County, specifically in Stark County, our starting step 1 wage in our patrolmen's union is a very good and reasonable wage. It's competitive with the other departments. I know we had talked at one time about lowering the wage and adding health benefits, but those costs would be much more expensive at this point. And our goal is to hire somebody that has quite a bit of experience, whether that be 10 years, 20 years, or preferred retiree. We haven't ironed that out yet. That's something we're still working on collectively. However, we're not looking to put brand new officers with no experience in our schools. The SRO program model in the state of Ohio, that's not done because it's just they need to have experience to be able to deal with all the different situations that they're going to encounter in the school system. I hope I covered all my points, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for the chief? Ms. Coffey.
Yeah, it could be retired officers, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I mean, Chief Film and all of you know this isn't exactly what I want. I want this on a grandiose level, but I do think this is a good start. So I'm thankful for this, the contract getting generated, and I think it's a good starting point. I feel like the numbers are persistent with other cities, like Jackson Township, Westlake, Twinsburg. It's actually almost identical to Twinsburg and Westlake. And Jackson Township, they were using this model. They were actually able to get 6 school resource officers. They have 6 schools, and they're actually currently hiring for a 7th officer for when one of their SROs is doing training or so. I mean, I just think that these models are so efficient and effective, they're just worth emulating. And Chief Film gave me numbers 2 years ago for adding SROs, and it was like $120,000 per officer, including benefits and equipment and everything. And so I think that this is less than half of that. So I'm excited to have this contract generated. I also feel like this is time-sensitive legislation as school starts in a month, and we want to have officers in there, so I think that we need to be cognizant of that.
Further questions? I just have a couple questions. As far as this legislation goes, it's a 60-40 split. You see in other communities that go prior to this being discussed, and I guess you're saying the schools were stripping SROs from their budget.
Not the Stowe schools, but you're saying, you're asking if the Stowe
Who is,
schools?
were the Stowe schools stripping safety resource officers from there? Who paid for these SROs prior to this legislation coming before this body?
The Stowe City School System,
100%.
for the side job, yes, sir.
Okay. So without them coming to us, are they coming to us to propose this because they were looking, were they stripping SROs? If we don't do this, is the school still going to pay 100% to have, or have they not prioritized safety in that regard?
I can't answer that question. I do know that there are cutbacks. I don't know if they're going to continue with the program in the fall. We do know, and we identified during our talks over the past 8 to 12 months that with Dr. Gould and Mark Treen, that we knew that this model was not working. And there was many days that there was either one officer or half an officer. And so that's when we started discussing what other models we could do. So I don't know what their budget is. I don't know if it's been approved. I can't answer that question.
Okay. Is there any reason why we don't have somebody from the schools here to answer those questions?
I didn't have anyone from the schools tonight. Dr. Gould and Mark Treen are both on vacation. They weren't able to make this meeting tonight.
Okay. So we don't know, you can't speak to whether or not, if the city of Stowe doesn't pass this, whether or not the school's going to pay to have officers in the schools. But even when they were paying, you're saying they were having trouble even getting officers?
Right. So one of the faults of having off-duty officers in the schools as extra jobs is you cannot mandate that officers work extra jobs. So that's one of the biggest downsides to this. Other considerations are that they're not on duty, therefore they can't enforce laws. So what happens is if something happens at the schools while they're there, they maintain the peace until an officer, on-duty officer, gets there to take the report, make the arrest, use the citations. Now, if a situation would occur where somebody's life's in danger, absolutely, the ORC, the state of Ohio, allows officers to immediately become on duty and to enforce laws. But as a general practice, the SROs are there merely in this, right now, under this current system, are security guards, acting as a security guard role. That is not efficient. That's not what we want as an organization, as a police organization, as a city. I know that Mayor Probanik backs this 100%, that in the schools, and Dr. Gould coming in as new superintendent solves this deficiency and asked how we can make it better. And that's how we started having those discussions. Having the officers as on a side job being paid by the schools, it has worked, right? It's not the most efficient. And as far as law enforcement goes, those officers don't have SRO training. They are certified peace officers, and they do a good job in what they have done. However, our goal is to put as many officers in the schools that we can, that are on duty, that can enforce laws and can make arrests, do reports, and not tie up the officers who are working the road doing other calls.
Okay, and I guess is there another way? Is there any reason why we can't do this as like a contract employee as opposed to creating full-time positions? Because as you had indicated earlier, the schools are probably not on a good financial footing. They have financial issues just like any other school district. So with that being said, and this may be more of a question for you, Mr. Riley, what is there in this agreement that says they have to continue with this? Because what I could see happening in the future is they just back out of this and we're left holding the bag saying, nobody's going to say, well, I'm going to vote no on safety for our schools, right? So I didn't see anything in the agreement where there's a mechanism that stops the schools from backing out of this. As a matter of fact, they were paying 100%. What I see is this is the beginning of them getting this paid for and ultimately just backing out of it because of the nature of the issue. It's a lot easier to back out and let the city carry the bag moving forward.
Yeah, and that's the reason we went to the part-time model for the employee, because they don't have the same protections that a full-time officer that is dedicated in the union. So that would be more of a protection that we would have with the employment contract with the part-time employees that are the SRO officers, more so than in the contract for the schools.
Yeah, what I'm saying is if the schools back out, which is the very nature of this is for the schools, right? That's why the schools are paying the largest sum of this money, right? If they back away, these employees are protected from are they protected under civil service?
No.
So they can just, if the school stops paying these positions, they lose their jobs, is that what you're telling me?
Correct.
Okay. So is there any reason why we couldn't do that on, I guess, on a 2-year basis, as a contract, as opposed to creating part-time positions and creating payroll? From that perspective, is there anything that, I guess, that, this may be for you, Chief Film, do you see any issues, or do you see anything that's going to prevent, or do you anticipate good qualified people applying for these 2 positions?
Do I say the, say it
Do you,
again? There's a bunch of questions there.
in your professional opinion,
Right.
do you anticipate highly qualified people applying for these 2 positions, and do you see it be a competitive where there's multiple people competing for these 2 spots?
Well, and in my research, talking to different communities, some of the communities had multiple applications. They had very qualified people apply. I've already talked to a few of our retirees. I have one that's interested that I think would be an excellent candidate. Today, we actually received an email today from a retiree that's in Coward County, and I do know that I think he emailed most communities, but I think it's going to be challenging. However, I think it can be done. If this does not work, and that's why I tried to say the word pilot program earlier, and I couldn't. That word couldn't come out of my mouth. If this program that we're trying to initiate, if it's not successful, I will be back in front of council with another program, because to have officers, on-duty officers in our school has always been a priority. We have applied for COPS grants the last few years that we did not receive because the city cannot show a financial need like other cities that aren't as financially wealthy as we are. So we have tried multiple grants to get SROs. Ideally, the use of officers on a side job to cover to do security in schools is a Band-Aid, and we're looking for a permanent, sustainable program that's going to be much more efficient and effective in our community.
And if we don't get any applicants, what's the plan?
If we don't get any applicants, then I'll be back in front of City Council with another plan.
Do you have that plan already thought out, and what it's going to be in the event this one doesn't go through?
No, sir, I do not. Well, I do. We haven't submitted our operating budget, but I again this year we'll be asking that Officer Bailey be replaced with an additional officer, so we can have Officer Bailey in the schools full time. The school struggles very much so because of his three-day allotment that with the current curriculum and the requirements that the state of Ohio has on the schools, that the school has asked repeatedly over the last 2 to 3 years that he go back to full-time position, which Jim Barker was at one time, because it's easier for them to transition and do the curriculum. I've asked for that for the last couple of years through finance. It has not been approved. So we do, as council knows, and I said in the spring, that we are going to be asking for an additional officer for the 12-hour shift matrix, because that we did receive one this year, which I'm very thankful, council, thank you. But we are in need of one additional, and so I'll be asking for 2 officers in the 2026 operating plan.
Thank you. Any other additional questions? For me, I guess I look at this, I wish the schools were here to speak, you know what I mean? They're the only ones that can speak to their budget. Everyone's on vacation. I get it. It's that time of year. You know, I know time is of the essence, as Ms. Coffey said, and I've said this on numerous occasions too. All too often there are pieces of legislation that come before council right before they need to happen and pass. So, you know, and we sit here and we say, oh, safety for our kids. I want to be the first to say I'm all about safety for our kids, but I'm also hesitant about entering into any agreement with the school board or with the schools in general because of the unstable financial footing that they find themselves on. I see this position just like other positions here where we've created. Next thing you know, they go into it knowing there's certain criteria, but then a year from now they're coming to us, we want to make this full-time with benefits and everything else, and it gets away from the original intent. I mean, I look at it as the schools were probably paying 100% of this, and the fact that they're coming and asking us to pay a portion of it means they're not, is it going to happen? I've heard mixed, I guess Ms. Coffey, did the school strip the SROs from, was it them that were stripping SROs from the schools and from the budget? I mean, you've been involved in this for over a year. I'm just trying to understand. I mean, you've been talking to the schools. I know nobody's here and you don't speak for the schools, but obviously you know what was had in those conversations.
Yeah, I don't know what the schools were planning. I just know that the previous program wasn't working, and so they wanted to pull that because it was inefficient and it wasn't getting filled. And this program is much more efficient and works in other cities, so I think it's just something that, I mean, I hope we emulate, but I don't know what the school's plans are or were.
Okay. All right, any other questions or anything else?
Yeah, just for my own edification, my understanding would be that if the schools did not fulfill their share of the cost share, that the program would simply not be implemented and that it would not impact the city being responsible for that. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the way the contract's written.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Seeing no further questions, do I have a motion to move this on? I'm going to put it on tonight's council agenda for a first reading only. I have some further questions. I'd like to invite some of the members of the school board that can answer some of these questions as it relates to theirs. Again, I said this before, if safety was such a priority to the school board or the school district, this would have been before this council, well before the short time that they have to say, well, we need it before school starts. So I question how safety was at the top of the priority list for the school district, but that's my intent tonight, is to have it for first reading only. So do I have a motion to move it on to tonight's council agenda for first reading?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes, noes, abstentions. That will appear on tonight's council agenda. Next item on the agenda, I think, is this for you, Mr. Jones?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. We're requesting legislation in order to solicit bids for the Seasons and Allen Traffic Signal Project, which includes installation of a traffic signal and related equipment at the intersection of Seasons and Allen. The estimated cost of this project is $350,000. As discussed last meeting, the city did receive a Transportation Improvement District grant in the amount of $300,000 for this project, and the remaining costs will be split with the city of Hudson. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for the city engineer regarding this? Do you have a somewhat of a timeline of, once you get through this, but when you anticipate construction starting and when being completed?
We are planning to get this project out to bid August, September, and then polls are still about 32 weeks out. So winter work would be foundations and maybe some underground, and then spring next year here.
Okay, thank you. Further questions? All right, seeing none, do I have a motion to move this on to tonight's council agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes, noes, abstentions. That will appear on tonight's council agenda. Next item, is this for you, Mr., who's this one for? Mr. Jim? Oh, Mr. McCleary.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. CMAQ funding is earlier than all the other AMATS funding because it goes through the state, and they require legislation. There's 4 projects that we would like to put in. One would be the Stow Fish Creek roundabout project. Another one would be the Norton Road signal improvement, the Steele's Corners Road signal improvements, and the Graham Road two-way left turn lane. They all qualify to congestion mitigation air quality funding projects. All other funding through AMATS won't be until October, November. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. McCleary? So, Mr. McCleary, the projects that you guys, that would be, can you kind of explain, they just, I guess, will they award the grant and we select the project, or you submit these projects for this particular type? Each of these projects are submitted for this funding as at least potentially being used for?
These projects are selected by the engineering department, and then AMATS has previously met with us. And they have mentioned to us, these are the type of projects they are looking for: the roundabouts, the traffic signal improvements, even two-way left turn lanes reduce congestion. Although it doesn't score as high as the traffic signal projects. 59, 91, and Graham Road were previously CMAQ projects for traffic signals. So they have recommended to us ones that we have pursued in the past, which would be high scoring. But we also have to compete not only with the AMATS area, we have to compete throughout the state of Ohio. So all the CMAQ funds come from the state of Ohio, central office.
Have these particular projects been prioritized by the engineering department?
We do not have to prioritize. We submit them. The Norton Road signal system was a request by Hudson because we jointly share Norton Road. They are also putting in a signal system that they maintain the two intersections on the State Route 8 Expressway. So they wanted to do the entire Norton Road, Seasons Road, our joint project. But you don't get any more points for a joint project.
All right, thank you. Any additional questions? All right, seeing none, do I have a motion to move this on to tonight's council agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Yes, noes, abstention, that will appear on tonight's council agenda. All right, now we come to the public comment period. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the Roads and Safety Committee? Please raise your hand, and you will be given 3 minutes to speak. Is there anyone that would like to address roads and safety at this time? Yes, sir.
How are y'all doing tonight?
Can you just give your name and address for the record?
Sure, will do. Brian Angeloni, my address is 2214 Cranford Drive. So I am here tonight to address you all regarding the ordinance 2025-149. Just hearing the debate tonight is interesting. I guess I come here with two hats on. I come here as a resident and a father who has 3 children in Stow School. So I've got one at Lakeview. My 2 younger ones are at Fish Creek. And so I speak very much in favor of the idea of bolstering our SRO program. But I also, from a father standpoint, but also I have the interesting aspect of also working in city government myself, having negotiated and written, authored multiple SRO agreements myself. So I come here and I just wanted to note a few things I found interesting. I'm poking around. Your finance director is probably going to knock me around with my numbers because I'm pulling stuff off of publicly available things very quickly. But if I'm looking at the numbers, so the contribution from the city in this instance for the proposal, which sounds to me like a pilot program, was 40%, which is $48,224.79. So we're talking about $48,000 is roughly the number that my math is. If we look at that and compare that to basically the 2025 appropriation ordinance that this body passed, I think it was 2024-205, you have, just for the police, you have $8,193,379. $8,193,379. So that means the $48,000 we're talking about is just under 0.5%, 1% of the total budget for that, in that appropriation. If we also look at that, just for other context, just looking back at your appropriation ordinance, you have fund number 350, which is your rainy day / reserve fund, setting aside $1 million in 2025. So if we look at that, $48,000 in comparison to that $1 million for a rainy day fund, which is for whatever, right, for a rainy day, you're talking about 4.8%. So as I stand before you, I'm a little bit shocked at the concept of not willing to pilot a program that doesn't just benefit the schools, to be clear, it benefits this community, as all communities are really necessarily tied to their school district. So as the schools go, the city goes, and as the city goes, the schools generally go. These things are inextricably intertwined. And so I will tell you, as a resident, I see it that way, and I am certain that the parents that send their kids to Stow City Schools feel that way as well. So in any event, I just would put that out to you all that this is a very, very modest expense. I've worked with Mr. Riley many times in the past. He's an excellent attorney, and I am certain that he's baked in ways that can be terminated if the agreement is not going as the body wants it to. So anyway, I stand here in favor of it. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address Roads and Safety Committee? All right, seeing none, that will end the public comment period. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Yes, noes, abstentions. This committee stands adjourned.
call to order the July 10th, 2025 Stow City Council Planning Committee meeting. I am Kyle Herman, the chair. We also have Mario Fioca, our vice chair, and John Baranek, our third member, constituting a quorum for the evening. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from June 12th?
Second?
All in favor? Yes.
Yes.
3 yeses, those minutes are approved. Planning Director's report.
Sorry, where we will review 4 chapters. There'll be the applicability standards, procedures, nonconformities, and definitions. I think I sent everyone council link to those documents for review before we get there. And yeah, other than that, I also emailed council earlier today a list of projects around the city. So I'm not going to go into detail on all those, but if you have any questions or if I missed, just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. Any questions for our planning director at this point? Or we'll just move into business with 2025-141.
Yeah. Did you want me to comment on the other ones?
What?
Did you want me to make a comment on the resolutions?
Oh, if you want to do it now, sure. Go.
Okay. Yeah, real quick. Yeah, the resolutions from the previous meeting, we'll just hold those in committee for now. I know there's some requests by council I haven't had time to get to. I'll get a use comparison and a list of zoning certificates that was requested last time. So yeah, the whole intent of these resolutions is just to have a general discussion, and then probably starting in August, I'll reach out to everyone to have smaller group discussions, either individually or small groups. So, but thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. This is ordinance 2025-141. This is a City of Stow application for sign variances. We are proposing to install a monument sign with electronic sign area in front of City Hall, right at the corner. So this sign would be located at least 80 feet from the nearest right-of-way from either Graham Road or Darrow Road. One of the variances that is coming up is the number of signs on the property. Per our code, we can have 3 freestanding signs on the property, 1 per street frontage. So we have 2 city center signs, each at the corner of Louis Durker Boulevard and Graham Road and Darrow Road. Then we have 2 skip playground signs on the property that contribute toward that sign. So this would be the 5th one on the property, where we are allowed only 3. So the other variances that we are looking at is sign area for both the total sign area of the electronic message area. So this is the design of the sign. Brick will match the building to blend in. It will be 80 square feet on 2 display surfaces. So if this were a sign that was back to back, it would just be 80 square feet. But in this case, you add them both up, so it's 160 square feet of sign area. We are permitted up to 70 square feet. And then with the electronic message display, as you probably know, we are maxed out at 33% of the total sign area. This panel will be 6 feet by 12 feet, which is 72 square feet, and 90% of the total sign area. The reason for picking this size of the sign is how far setback it is from the road. We want it to be legible for anyone driving by without having to really squint their eyes and see what they're reading. So we decided on a 6 by 12 sign just for legibility and safety for people driving by. Due to the size of the sign, it is 9.5 feet from grade in height, and our code allows a maximum of 8 feet, so that'd be a 1.5 foot variance from that code requirement. So again, this is just a list of variances. We have for the sign height, area for the total area, and electronic sign area, and then the number of freestanding signs on the property. Planning Commission reviewed, they recommended approval. We've been working with them for a couple years on this to find the right design and sign type. So we're happy with this one, looking forward to it. This will take away any temporary construction signs that you see out front, so we don't have to worry about that. We do have a representative from Archer Sign, Gina Cope, and then from Watchfire, which would be supplying the electronic panels, Jeff Pisano. So if you have any questions about the specifics of the sign, they're here to answer any of those questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. Do we have any questions for Mr. Cowan, or would we like to hear from the representatives? Or if it's cut and dry, do you want to just move to put it on the agenda for tonight?
Move that resolution 2025-141 be added to tonight's council agenda.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. That's 3 yeses. It will be on our council agenda for tonight. So we'll move to 2025-142.
Thank you. This application is for a text amendment, specifically to Chapter 1145 in the commercial districts. This would create Section 1145.15, the supplementary regulations for drive-through facilities. The only requirement would be that all drive-through facilities shall provide a minimum 10-foot bypass lane whereby vehicles may exit the lot at any point without proceeding through the drive-through lane. Parking circulation area may contribute toward meeting this requirement, provided it is located adjacent to the drive-through lane. The background behind this amendment is, I know we're going through the code update, but this was identified as a health and safety issue, as you're probably well aware of. Requiring a bypass lane is fairly common. I've worked in a couple of communities in Gahanna and Columbus where they require bypass lanes. They are necessary to provide for emergency and safety access in case there's any medical or mechanical issues while you're stuck in that line. It also helps improve the traffic flow throughout the site. So a couple of examples of single lanes around the city, and that Starbucks is in the Falls on the corner of Graham and Hudson. But anyways, these are just examples of single lanes, just showing you that once you get in that lane and you're stuck in between cars, you're stuck in there. So it doesn't matter how long the food takes, but if your car breaks down, if you're having a medical emergency, you're stuck in there. It also makes it more difficult for emergency vehicle access to get to you. So requiring a bypass lane, which we already have some around the city, which more recent ones like Panda Express incorporated into their design. Having a bypass lane, whether it's a designated one or one that's adjacent to the drive-through lane as parking circulation area, just allows for circulation around the entire site, allows for easy access for emergency vehicles to get to you if needed. So that's all I have for this. Mayor, I believe you wanted to make a comment on this as well.
Yes, unfortunately, we're coming up in about a month to the tragic event that happened to Megan Kellerman at Taco Bell on Graham Road. And this is really termed under what they're looking at to go through the state of Ohio eventually, Megan's Way Out, and also then become national. It was tragic what happened, but again, besides what happened to Megan and her family, as Mr. Cohen said, if you're having some type of medical condition or whatever and you're locked in, it makes it very tough. And Chief Stone would tell you, and the rest of our fire department would tell you, it is very hard. And seconds matter, as we have seen over the last 2 council meetings of how people's lives were saved just because proper things actually occurred at that time, where they wouldn't be with us today. So that being said, also too, Zach has been working on, it has been talked about, it isn't at that point yet, of a new Taco Bell off of Norton Road. He has already talked to the Taco Bell, and they are very aware and are very happy to go ahead and add that bypass lane. So again, through tragic events, I think we as a city can look at this and say, we can start this in motion and have it happen across our state and also across the United States. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Cowan, do we have any questions from council on this? Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. I think I fully support this. Reading through this legislation, I understand the circumstances it's not, these aren't the circumstances that typically change zoning codes, but they're necessary to prevent these types of things from happening. Short of the incident that took place, that's bringing this legislation forward, Mayor said it. If you had a medical emergency in there, somebody may not even know you're having that medical emergency until that first car moves out of the way and realizes, hey, this car isn't moving. So, when this does, this is going to take 3 readings and a public hearing, but when it does come up for a final vote, I fully intend on supporting this piece of legislation.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. Any other comments or questions or motions to move it on to the agenda for tonight?
Move that ordinance 2025-142 be added to tonight's council agenda.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Any abstentions or opposed? That was, yeah, just to confirm, those are 3 yeses. Okay. 2025-127.
Sorry, 127 was the previous, yeah, we're at 143.
What, oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, well, we're skipping down to 140, yeah.
Yep. Okay. All right, so again, like the previous time that we went through these draft chapters, we'll just go through major changes. As a reminder, these resolutions are just stating that you're in support of the general intent and direction that these chapters are going. You're not adopting anything. If you do decide to vote on it, it's just a general, just allows us to have that discussion now before we get to the final draft document. So starting with chapter 5, major or the subdivision standards. So a few of the big changes that we're making. So one of them is the block requirement that came up during Miller's Landing that I'm sure you're all very familiar with. We would change block requirement to street segment and further clarify that definition, just meaning that a street segment is basically the distance between 2 intersecting streets, rather than, I know we had the discussion before about blocks and what they mean and how they're interpreted. They're interpreted that blocks are basically, dimensional streets with a length and a width. So this would just clarify that there's a maximum and minimum street segment. So we would reduce the street segment from the current 1,800 feet in length to 1,000 feet, which would just support walkability in the neighborhood, and then reduce the minimum length from 800 to 350 feet. The reduction for that one is to account for parallel streets where you have lots that are back to back, like for example, on this map you see like Goodland Drive, that might only be 400 feet wide. So we don't want to prevent those types of street segments in the city. So, and then non-residential street segments is existing, maintained at 1,800 feet in length and 600 feet minimum. Then moving on to temporary cul-de-sac. So we would still have the maximum temporary or maximum cul-de-sac length of 800 feet. Instead of having the temporary cul-de-sac, we would change that to roadway stubs. These would still be required to stub into undeveloped property as they are now. In this case, though, they'd be subject to the 1,000-foot street segment length. So in this example on the map, if you have 2 stubs that are going up to undeveloped property, the distance between this street and this street cannot exceed 1,000 feet. So that would prevent any other, like on Miller's Landing, it would prevent those long stretches of street that are 1,400 feet long. So regardless of how it was, Miller's Landing would be a non-conforming development, if this code passes. But any future development would have to adhere to that 1,000-foot length. The roadway stub, it'd have to, again, stub into undeveloped property unless there's no viable location for a stub. So that'd be in cases where maybe there's conservation land or there's a stream or a lake running through undeveloped property where it doesn't make sense to have a roadway stub. Then you would not require a stub. And then for conservation design, this is a very similar version of what we have for cluster developments. Just kind of reworking it, increasing the density a little bit. So conservation design is a type of subdivision that allows clustering of dwellings in exchange for preservation of the site as conservation. So in this case, we would require about 30% of the development site as conservation. And what this does, it allows you to have a little higher density of dwelling units as long as you preserve more land around the development. So conservation, that could be anything, natural lands, ravines, wooded area, wetlands, etc. Currently, our maximum density is in the R1's 2 units per acre, R2 is 3 units per acre, and R3 is 10 units per acre. We would propose increasing that a little bit. So R1 would be 4 units per acre, R2 6 units per acre, and R3 15 units per acre. So again, this is still draft, still up for discussion. Again, this is just another iteration of the cluster development guidelines that we have now. So again, these are just the 3 major changes in the subdivision standards that we're proposing. All the other requirements we've reviewed in detail with engineering department. There's minor tweaks to street design requirements, things like that, but overall, these are the major changes. So if there's any questions on this chapter, happy to take them.
Thank you. Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you. Mr. Cowan, I guess with the whole subdivision standard with the segments and everything else, you're saying if this was adopted today, Miller's Landing would be a non-conforming use based off of that?
It'd be, yeah.
Okay, so the road segment length in this case couldn't exceed 1,000. What's the current, I guess?
1,800 is current.
1,800?
Yeah, and the length of a block is.
Do you recall what the length was from Charles Place to, was it Roberta, I think it was? Because that was what was in question, right?
That one,
whether or not that was exceeded the length of a city block or created a city block or something along those lines.
that was about 700 feet.
Okay, so this is increasing that length?
No, so going back to the blocks, we interpret it as that there's being a length and a width of the block, the length being the longest dimension. So like the length of like Charles Place, I think to the next street stub, the next platted land is about 1,700 feet long. And then the distance between, I think it was Charles and the Painby Farm Street was like 700 feet.
So looking at the map that you got there.
Yeah.
Let's just say where Carver Lane is up there is, let's just say that's that's North River Road, right? And then the 1,000 feet back to Miles Standish Lane, that's Charles Place, right? You're saying that's like currently like 1,300 or 1,400 feet, and under the new rewrite, it can't exceed 1,000 feet.
1,000,
to
yeah.
get to they would have to put some sort of something there to, okay.
Yep.
Any other questions on this chapter? And just a reminder, this is just basically a discussion item, and as you have feedback on all of them, you also have the opportunity to discuss them with the planning department later.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks. So let's move on to the next chapter.
All right. Chapter 9 is access and mobility standards. So we will have some regulations for internal access drives, which we are missing now. So this is more intended for larger development and parking or more than 200 parking spaces. So, larger plazas, really. This would just make sure that there's necessary access throughout the site for a primary internal drive, coming off the main street, and then the secondary internal drive, which would mostly be, right along the building, going through the development, similar to what there is like over in Target Plaza. So we don't have anything in their code now to really address it. So this is just to address that missing piece. Vehicle parking, we would look to reduce the number of required parking spaces. We get often law variances for these, and there's quite a few uses that are very high compared to other cities and standard parking ratios. I'm not going to go through the entire list of all the uses. We can do that in our smaller group discussions, but just a few examples. Multifamily right now requires 2.5 parking spaces per dwelling unit. We would reduce that to 1.5, which is typical and standard. Restaurants require 1 per 50 square feet, which is quite a lot. We would reduce that to 1 per 200 square feet. And then major manufacturing, which is another one that we see variances on fairly often, currently requires 1 per 400, and that would go down to 1 per 1,000 square feet. There would also be administrative adjustments built in to those parking requirements. So if they propose lesser parking requirements and they want to preserve more trees, or if they are semi-transit, or they are they're on-street parking, they could do a parking study that shows that they don't need this amount of parking. We code as well, just give them more options for reduced parking. Then we will also have bicycle parking requirements. That will be required 1 bicycle rack, or one bicycle parking space for every 20 off-street parking spaces, up to 10 spaces. So 1 space, 2 spaces would be on 1 rack, basically. So they have to be on the same lot. They have to be a well-lit area within 50 feet of a building entrance. And there will be some minimum design criteria established, but it would just be minimum criteria, because we still want to allow for flexible design of bicycle racks and even as art installations. Loading spaces, we really don't have any requirements now, so we'll have some minimum requirements. Basically just saying that they have to be interior side or rear of a building. There will be some minimum loading space requirements. But again, this is just a missing piece in our code that we'll have filled in. All right, and that's all I have for Chapter 9 for the major changes. Thank you.
Any questions on Chapter 9? Seeing none, we can move on to Chapter 10.
All right, Chapter 10 will be the sign standards. In this chapter, we will expand on a lot of different types of signs that we currently do not. We'll have better regulations for projecting signs, drive-through signs, multi-tenant signs, post and panel signs, banner signs, temporary signs. Just really, right now, we have clear language for wall signs and monument signs and some temporary signs. So we'll be really expanding the type of signs allowed. Some of those changes, so for wall sign area, right now it's based on the length of the tenant space. So it's 1.5 times the lineal length of the space. We will instead base it on the area of the at 7.5%, which equals to, for a typical tenant space in a retail building or a plaza, they'll still be allowed to have the sign area that they're currently allowed, would be approximately 30 square feet. But this will allow it to be better based on the entire facade area rather than just the length. They'll allow for more appropriately sized wall signs. And then there will be an administrative adjustment option. They could get 5% greater sign area if they install individually affixed letters to the building rather than cabinet signs, just to promote better quality signs. Single tenant monument signs, we would propose the maximum areas approximately the same, residential at 25 square feet, the mixed use overlay in the commercial and PI districts at 50 square feet, which is consistent now. And then we would propose to increase the industrial monument sign area to 75 square feet, just to accommodate the larger buildings and property. For multi-tenant monument signs, commercial will be 50 square feet, PI district at 75 square feet, and industrial at 75 square feet, which would be slight increases. And then the electronic message boards, which I'll skip ahead a little bit. This is another common variance that we always get for the electronic sign area. We would take out that 12-foot or that 12-inch masonry perimeter requirement. That's always been an issue. We're still discussing what the maximum allowed electronic sign area would be. We've discussed anywhere between 50 and 75%. From discussions with steering committee and planning commission, they recommend up to 75% of the total sign area, which has been consistent with with what's been proposed lately. And, we still have the typical requirements, has to be static, cannot change more than once every 10 seconds. For multi-tenant monument signs, one of the big changes is that we will limit the number of tenant panels to 6 tenant panels. The purpose of that is to avoid signs like this on the right, where they're just tiny tenant panels. You can't read it driving by. It's kind of a safety issue if you're trying to drive and read what's on the sign. So we want to prioritize quality signs with good design that are legible. So it's not cluttered. It's simple and clean. So we want to prioritize that. Have up to 6 tenant panels on those large signs. And then we would also introduce a master sign plan. So this would kind of be similar to like a plan development where you write your own code. A developer or property owner could apply for a master sign plan where they could basically write their own sign code. This would be in cases mostly suited for plazas, large buildings where they can't necessarily meet the sign code as it is. So this would just allow for more flexible development. In the master sign plan, they will list the types of signs permitted, which signs are prohibited, the size of them, the type. They can regulate, colors, whatever they want. It would just be allow for more flexible sign design and consistent sign design, because we want to see, matching sizes on those plazas. They can get ugly if they're not regulated properly. So we just want to make sure again that we prioritize quality signs. And that's all I have for chapter 10. Thank you.
Any questions, comments on chapter 10? Seeing none, let's go to chapter 11.
This is my only slide for chapter 11. This is just the floodplain standards. Talking to the city engineer, nothing's changing from them. It's just moving all the regulations to chapter 11. So definitions that are in the current, I think 1185, they'll be moved to the definition section and just reorganized, but floodplain standards will just be in chapter 11. So
thank you, Mr. Cowan. Any questions, comments on chapter 11? Seeing none, we can move to our public comment period. If anyone wants to give public comment on a planning issue, please raise your hand. And seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor? Yes.
Yes.
We are adjourned.
I'd like to call the Finance Committee for July 10th to order and have the clerk call roll.
Baranek,
Here.
Feldman, McIntyre,
Here.
Herman.
Here.
Okay, moving on. We don't have any minutes from the last meeting? Okay, so we'll move on to the Finance Director's report. Mr. Top.
Thank you, Mr. Baranek. No report this evening, but I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Toppin? Seeing none, let's move on to our business items. Mr. Wren.
Thank you, Mr. Baranek. This is to replace our SCADA system. As we discussed earlier, our SCADA system is what controls the PSI, all the pumps, the tower, every aspect of our water operations. Our current SCADA system is from 2006, and it's not alarming every time it should. And it's also serviced by a company out of Kansas. So we have chosen a company that's located in Akron and that serves over 300 communities in the state of Ohio to replace that. We're looking to, if council passes this, install this right at the time that we are filling the tower. So we'll have both systems running and then eventually take the older system offline. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Wren?
I guess,
Mr. McIntyre.
just looking, I don't know if it's typo, is so this is part of the water system?
Correct.
So why, I mean, isn't there a water capital fund that this should be paid out of? It's just coming out of the regular capital improvement fund?
Yeah, it is a typo. It's coming out of 796, which is the water capital, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to move this on to council?
So moved.
Second.
Moved, seconded. All those in favor?
Yes.
Against, abstentions? That gets moved on to council agenda. Mr. Wren?
Thank you, Mr. Baranek. This is the 2026 through 2030 capital budgets. As we mentioned, the future years are malleable, but you're beginning to see with this 5-year plan, the funding over multiple years, like for the community bus, you can see, I believe, $77,000 a year. So obviously a multitude of projects on here for 2026 is mainly what I'm looking at. And then just future funding for projects that we know are potentially coming down the line, mainly with the engineering department, as it aligns with funding from different sources. So happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Wren? Seeing none, do I have a motion to move this on to council?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Against, abstentions? That gets moved on to council agenda. Mr. Toppin?
Thank you, Mr. Baranek. This ordinance is to allow for the purchase of furniture for the finance department, which was part of the approved capital budget for 2025.
Do I have any questions for Mr. Toppin? Mr. McIntyre?
It's not necessarily for Mr. Toppin, I guess, Mr. Wren, I guess, looking at this expenditure, you know, I know obviously we've made a lot of changes to furniture and updating this building and the offices and everything else. My question is, as I'm seeing this expenditure and everything else, when are we going to see the expenditure for the city council office moving back over into City Hall?
Well, honestly, I'm looking for a decent solution because part of the issue is we're getting tight on space in this building. I'd like to utilize the executive session room for both offices, but then we have to decide where the executive session room then moves. The boards and commissions room is used all the time, not only by city staff, but by boards and commissions, obviously. So that's what I'm looking to do, is expand that executive session space, see if I can put the 2 desks and equipment along with a table for the actual executive session itself. So that's what I'm looking at doing.
So you're looking to expand the executive session room?
Yeah, to expand the basically it would cut off at that, we would probably end up taking out that little kitchenette that's there, that you pass when you go into executive session, and abut it straight to the boards and commissions room, so we can have the space to both have the conference table and do the executive session and have office space in there.
Okay. I know that's off the topic of everything else. We could talk a little more offline, Mr. Wren. I know it's just that I saw this expenditure come through and just inquiring on when that's, you know, the voters voted on that a couple years ago, and we need to get it moving forward here. So thank you, Mr. Brennan. Thank you, Mr. Wren.
Yeah, one question I have is, I know just from memory that there was a lot of rearrangement and a lot of furniture that was put up in finance several years ago. And it just seems like when positions change and people's change, they get all new furniture. And I know that furniture up in finance is maybe 8 to 10 years old. And I guess I'm having an issue with it.
The only recent changes in finance have been to income tax. This is for the back part where the administration sits.
Yeah, but I know all the office furniture back in the back area was all redone, actually, when I was here. And that, you know, granted, that was a long time ago. I mean, and put $61,000 and, into the area, I still have a little bit of an issue. Is it making it more efficient? What's it doing to it?
I haven't, Mr. Toppin, can you weigh in on that?
I don't know the last time it was replaced. This is just part of the budget with the other departments, furniture being ranged. They did the tax department last year with new desks, and then we budgeted for the remainder of the finance area to be redone for 2025 as part of the 2025 budget.
Okay. Mr. McIntyre.
I guess on top of that, I don't disagree with you, Mr. Baranek. I know I've seen purchases that come through here for, and I look and say, what are we getting for that cost? What are we getting for $61,000? Is there an itemized list that you could provide us to understand what $61,000 gets us? If Mr. Baranek would know best, obviously he sat back in that area that's being referenced as far as this furniture goes. So I'll take his opinion over that, understanding what's back there. So, for me, I guess I would like to know what $61,531.10 is getting the finance department.
We can get it, we won't have it available tonight, but we can get an itemized list for the next meeting. I know we have it, I just don't have my hands on it.
Okay, if there's not any other questions, I'd like to get a motion to move this on to council for first reading tonight.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Against, abstentions, that goes on council agenda for this evening. Now this is the time in the meeting where we ask for public comment. So if anybody has any comment for the Finance Committee, please approach the podium and state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Yes.
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 Against, abstentions, we are adjourned.
I call this committee of the whole meeting of Stow City Council to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Baranek.
Here.
McIntyre.
Here.
Reel.
Present.
Bioka.
Here.
Feldman. Herman.
Here.
Coffee.
Here.
There are no minutes, so we'll move on to the law director's report. Mr. Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice President. Apart from the executive session item I have to give my quarterly update, I just wanted to take this opportunity real quick to say that the law department, and I know the mayor's department and the police department has received a lot of calls over the last couple weeks about solicitors in the city of Stow. So just for council and for anybody who's actually out there in the audience watching or watching on video, there is a fact sheet on the City of Stow website underneath the mayor's department about solicitors, the regulations of solicitors, what they have to do to actually become certified and actually follow the rules of soliciting. So they have to have their permit with them at all times. So make sure if someone solicits and they don't have that, ask for that permit. If they do not have it, then call the non-emergency line. That way we can respond, issue a citation to stop them from doing this in the future, because I do see a lot of feedback online and on social media. We can't do much about that. We can only respond if we know they're out there, where they're at, and who we're talking about. So another thing, if you can get the company name when you call in and say, hey, there's this person soliciting, get the company name and try and get the name of the actual person that's soliciting. That really helps us as we're out there looking for people. Also, we have a do not solicit list that if you want to be put on, call the mayor's office to get put on that list. Each solicitor has to keep that list with them at all times as well. and they cannot knock on your door. So, and we also, the mayor's office sends out a no soliciting tag that you can put on your door. But even if you don't have that on your door, if you're on the list, they still are not allowed to knock on your door. And just know we are constantly looking at this, seeing other ways, see other cities, what they're doing, because we know it's a problem, and we're trying to address it. So I just wanted to make sure that was a PSA out there, and take my little bit of time to say that. So any other things, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for the law director?
That's one.
Yo.
Mr. Riley, I guess, is there a list of companies that are listed on this website? So if people had questions, they could, because I could tell you in my neighborhood, it's been the talk all week, is people riding on the motorized scooter, the Segways, and coming up on doors multiple times and everything else, so.
We do maintain a list, Mayor. I don't know if we actually post the list. I think we do. But yeah, we do have that list as well.
And then my other question, I guess, to a statement you made, do you have what is defined as a solicitor? So like it says no soliciting, or you're on a no soliciting list, but what does that encompass?
Yeah, it only applies to commercial sales. So if someone from, the big one I always get out there is the band coming around on Tag Day, that's not a solicitor. People handing out bills or dropping things off, if it's not in a commercial context, that's not soliciting. Political mailers being dropped off, that's not soliciting. Churches dropping out for things, it has to be for a commercial purpose.
Okay.
It's all in the statute as well.
So I guess we say commercial, but it's almost like it's soliciting for the exchange of some sort of good or service for some sort of monetary value.
Yep.
That's the best.
Yep, that's a good layperson's term, yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rowe.
Further questions? Actually, this is just a good opportunity just to talk about the non-emergency line in general. So I had a resident reach out about Miller's Landing and how they were starting construction at 6 a.m. and all of this stuff. I said, hey, I can't complain on your behalf. Call this non-emergency line. And they talked about talking to an AI agent on there. And then I also noticed on Facebook recently, not people upset, but people sort of surprised that, hey, I called this number and I end up speaking to an AI agent. So could we just talk about what that is and the process and how this works?
Yeah, I'll defer to Chief Film on that one.
Yes, thank you.
It's a conversation that we have had internally as well, but.
Yes. So we were notified maybe a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, that the SECC, which is our new dispatch center, they're trying out an AI system. It's for non-emergency calls only. It's not for, obviously, if you dial 911, you're going to get a dispatcher live right away. And also the AI, as it learns and evolves, it also, certain trigger words that when you start speaking, it will automatically give you a dispatcher. I have addressed my concerns with this with the mayor, and we did have a upcoming board meeting that's been postponed, and we are going to address our concerns with the SECC. I don't personally think that having AI system for any calls involving first responders is appropriate, and we're going to ask that they disband it. But at this point, we have not had a meeting. I have discussed with the director already a couple times about some concerns that we've had, because I think it'll take longer for the calls to actually get dispatched because the AI system. But that's only from my not knowing the AI system, so I'm hoping to learn more. If it ends up being very efficient and quick and maintains that the same quality service that we want, then I would support it. However, I know that, and as I explained to our residents and I explained to the director, that every phone call to the police department, somebody is in some type of crisis. It may not be an emergency crisis, but they are in a crisis to them. And I know, and everybody, I think everyone sits in council, anytime that you would call customer service and get an AI, everybody's always pushing 0 and asking for customer support or customer service right away to get through the AI system. And I feel that's going to happen too with this current system. However, it's so new, and that they're gathering data now. So, but it is running. I think the last I was told, it either 50 or 60% of the calls are being answered by the AI right now as a testing.
Yeah, so I guess, so how's that work? So, I mean, if somebody calls, they talk to the AI agent, and they're telling me they're getting a call back, 10 minutes later, 15 minutes, like whatever. So like who's calling? Is it somebody from the dispatch center that's calling them back? Is that being referred to like somebody? at the
Actually,
police department?
it'll take your information and it'll dispatch cars.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'll actually, once enough information is taken, it'll actually dispatch units.
Yeah, so like in the case of the Miller's Landing complaint, like somebody ended up calling them back, I think like 10, 15 minutes later.
Right,
So,
and what it is at that point, it was probably, I don't know if the dispatch called them back, but it probably should have been an officer that called them back.
Yeah.
And that's dependent on the availability of the officers at that time of day.
okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Further questions? All right, a consideration of business items. So A, B, C, D, and E have been on quite a legislative journey. They were read once, they were tabled, they were moved from the table, they sent back to committee. Does anybody have any discussion items on any of these? All right, well, I will entertain a motion to send these back to the full council for their, I believe, their second reading.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded to send A, B, C, D, and E back to council. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. No's, abstentions. That will appear on tonight's agenda. Item F, Mr. Herman.
So item F and G are two suggestions that were made by the Charter Review Commission for if the council does not choose to put those relevant charter amendments on the ballot for voters this year. They didn't want their work to necessarily go to waste. They wanted to give the council the option of continuing the discussions by creating commissions so that the city could have more time to review the assessments that they made. And so the ask for these would be to move them to the agenda for our first reading tonight, since all of the other charter amendments are already on their second reading. And that way, after we make a decision on the amendments themselves, then we could revisit these alternative options for continuing those discussions.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Any discussion, any questions? All right, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to move F and G onto tonight's city council agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. No's, abstentions. Those items will appear on tonight's agenda. H, will this be the police chief?
Thank you, Mr. Reel. This is requesting legislation approval to create the position of a permanent position of a school resource officer, a permanent part-time position in the job grade 12, which is 3444, minimum compensation up to 45.56. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief. Questions for the chief? All right, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to move item H on tonight's city council meeting.
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. No's, abstentions. That will appear on tonight's agenda. Item I, it is a liquor permit request for MACS convenience stores at 4936 Fish Creek Road. Are there any questions, concerns, discussion on this? All right, well, I will move to direct the clerk and council to send a notice to Ohio Division of Liquor Control that there is no request for a public hearing on this matter for a new permit to sell alcoholic beverages at MACS Convenience Stores LLC at 4936 Fish Creek Road in Stow.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. No's, abstentions, that motion carries. Another liquor permit request for Steelhouse LLC, DBA 4240 Hudson Drive. Any discussion, questions, concerns on this item? All right, seeing none, I will move to direct the clerk of council to send notice to Ohio Division of Liquor Control that we indicate no request for a hearing regarding a new permit to sell alcoholic beverages at Steelhouse LLC, doing business as 4240 Hudson Drive, which is located at 4240 Hudson Drive, Stow. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
No's, abstentions. That motion carries. I will now move to recess into executive session for the discussion of the appointment and compensation of a public employee, the purchase and sale of property, and a conference with our esteemed law director regarding pending and imminent litigation. Moved and seconded. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Baranek? Yes. McIntyre?
Yes.
Reel?
Yes.
Fioka?
Yes.
Feldman? Herman?
Yes.
Coffee?
We are now in executive session.
want me to come back for?
We are back from executive session. We discussed appointment, compensation of public employee, purchase and sale of property, as well as a conference with the law director regarding pending and imminent litigation. We have one item, legislative item that is coming out of there, and will the clerk please read it by its title?
2025-153, an ordinance confirming the finance director's appointment of Angela Reve as deputy finance director of the city of Stow, establishing compensation for said appointee and declaring an emergency.
Is there any discussion? All right.
Move to, moving on the council agenda.
There is a motion to assign a number to this and move forward to tonight's council meeting. Is there a second? Second by Councilwoman Coffey. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes, no's, abstentions. That will appear on tonight's agenda, and Angela is in the audience tonight. Welcome aboard. City of Stow, look forward to working with you. Now comes the time of the meeting for public comment. Should you wish to make a public comment, please raise your hand. You'll be recognized by me. You'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak. Anything you say will become part of the permanent record. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to make a comment at this time? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
No's, abstentions. This meeting's adjourned. I call this city council meeting to order and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Baranek?
Here.
McIntyre?
Here.
Reel?
Present.
Yoga?
Here.
Feldman? Herman?
Here.
Coffee?
Here.
The prayer and pledge of allegiance tonight will be led by Councilman at Large Jeremy McIntyre.
If you bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we come to you this hour asking for your blessing and help us as we are gathered today. We ask that you bless our agenda to be fruitful and for the common good. We pray for guidance in the matters at hand and ask that you would clearly show us how to conduct our work with a spirit of joy and enthusiasm. Give us the desire to find ways to excel in our work. Grant that our mayor and council have ears to listen to the people they serve and wisdom to act for justice. We ask all of this in your name. Amen. If you'd rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There are no proclamations or commendations tonight, so we will move on to the approval of minutes. First up, we have the minutes from June 22nd, 2026. What is your pleasure?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve those minutes. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
No's, abstentions. Those minutes stand approved. We also have a request to amend city council minutes. Ms. Mottram?
Yeah, I'm just asking for approval just to amend the April 24th, 2025 minutes. As I was reviewing, I never noted that council read the first set of charter review amendments as a first reading in the minutes, so I just wanted, I have a notation of the first reading.
Any discussion? All right, what is your pleasure?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded to amend the city council amendments from April 24th, 2025. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes, no's, abstentions. Those minutes stand approved. Now comes a time in the meeting where we ask for comments from the audience. Should you wish to make a comment, please raise your hand. You'll be recognized by me. You'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak. Anything you say will become part of the permanent record of the city of Stow. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to make a comment at this time? Mayor's report. Mayor Probanek.
Thank you, Mr. Reel. First of all, we gave accolades, and duly so, to our parade, which it was another fantastic parade day. Also, too, weather cooperated. For the first time since COVID, we went over 300, and actually it was around 350 for the firecracker run. So it was nice to see that back up and going. It's been climbing every year since COVID, and it was nice to see it back up over that 300, and like I said, it was around 350. We also did a ribbon cutting, if you haven't seen it yet, and I invite residents along where the Sanctorium Walk is. We now have a story walk, and so in conjunction, collaboration with the Stow Monroe Falls Library, every quarter there will be a new book out there that you can read as you go ahead and walk that trail. So I invite people to go ahead and check that out. On this Tuesday, July 15th, at Wetmore Park, we have our pop-up in the park. So that starts at 6 o'clock and usually runs to about 7:30, so hope to see everybody there. Our Helping Hands, our Stow Helping Hands was very successful. We had a very successful drive. Thank you to our residents, and people will be able to see an update next week for all the socks, underwear, hygiene items that were collected for our students and here in the city of Stow. So again, as always, the residents were very generous, and I appreciate all of your support with that. Last but not least, coming up July 22nd is the opening of the Summit County Fair. And besides that being an exciting time, I would also like to recognize one reason why I'm bringing this up is how much the Call family that is very instrumental here in Stow has been instrumental with the Summit County Fair throughout the tenure, even when Charlie and Jean were around. So I invite you, like I said, ribbon cutting is July 22nd, and it will run the rest of that week, and that's the Summit County Fair. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Questions for the mayor? All right. Is there any old business to come before City Council? New business. I introduce ordinance 2025-153 and ask the clerk to please read it by its title.
2025-153, an ordinance confirming the finance director's appointment of Angela Rave as Deputy Finance Director of the City of Stow, establishing compensation for said appointee and declaring an emergency.
Move to suspend the rules. Motion on the floor to suspend the rules. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Noes, abstentions, rules are suspended. I move to adopt.
Second.
Discussion. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Baranek? Yes. McIntyre?
Yes.
Reel?
Yes.
Fioka?
Yes.
Feldman? Herman?
Yes.
Coffee?
Yes.
2025-153 takes effect according to its terms. Welcome aboard. Look forward to working with you. I will entertain a motion to excuse the absence of Councilman at-large Feldman.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Noes, abstentions. His absence is excused. Disposition of ordinances and resolutions, 107 remains on the table. Moving to items for second reading, I introduce ordinance 2025-104 and ask the clerk to please read it by its title for its second reading.
2025-104, an ordinance providing a separate amendment to the charter of the City of Stow to be submitted to the electorate at the general election on November 4th, 2025, to amend section 3.06 to clarify the procedure of acting mayor and declaring an emergency.
That constitutes second reading. 2025-105.
2025-105, an ordinance providing for a separate amendment to the charter of the City of Stow, Ohio, to be submitted to the electorate at the general election on November 4th, 2025, to amend section 4.12 to reduce the number of public locations of posting public notices and including additional electronic medium posting requirements as declared an emergency.
That constitutes a second reading for 2025-105. 2025-106.
2025-106, an ordinance providing for a separate amendment to the charter of the City of Stow to be submitted to the electorate at the general election on November 4th, 2025, to amend Article 20 of the charter, creating a date by which the Charter Review Commission shall be paneled and moving to the date by which the commission shall submit their recommendations to council and declare an emergency.
That constitutes the second reading for 2025-106. 2025-109.
2025-109, an ordinance providing for a separate amendment to the charter of the city of Stow to be submitted to the electorate at the general election on November 4th, 2025, to amend Article 6 of the charter, creating a provision for an acting finance director and declaring an emergency.
That constitutes the second, that constitutes the second reading for 2025-109, 2025-110.
2025-110, an ordinance providing a separate amendment to the charter of the city of Stow to be submitted to the electorate at the general election on November 4, 2025, to amend Article 9 of the charter, creating a provision for an acting law director and declaring an emergency.
That constitutes the second reading for 2025-110, 2025-132.
2025-132, an ordinance providing for a separate amendment to the charter of the city of Stow to be submitted to the electorate at the general election on November 4th, 2025, to amend Article 25 of the charter, changing the number of consecutive terms which the law director and finance director may serve, and declare an emergency.
That constitutes the second reading for 2025-132, 2025-133.
2025-133, an ordinance providing for a separate amendment to the charter of the city of Stow to be submitted to the electorate at the general election on November 4, 2025, to amend Section 4.02 and Section 5.01 of the charter, changing the number of wards for the city of Stow council, and declare an emergency.
That is the second reading for 2025-133, 2025-134.
2025-134, an ordinance providing for a separate amendment to the charter of the city of Stow to be submitted to the electorate at the general election on November 4, 2025, to amend Section 4.02 and Section 21.08 of the charter, changing the length of terms for city council members, and declare an emergency.
That constitutes the second reading for 2025-134, 2025-135.
2025-135, an ordinance providing for a separate amendment to the charter of the city of Stow to be submitted to the electorate at the general election on November 4, 2025, to amend Article 16 of the charter, establishing Section 16.07 entitled Ranked Choice Voting for Municipal Elections, and declaring an emergency.
That constitutes the second reading for 2025-135. Items for the first reading, K, L, M, remain in committee. 2025-136. I introduce it and ask the clerk to please read it by its title.
2025-136, an ordinance creating the Stow Charter Commission on City Council wards for delineating the composition and specifying the powers and duties thereof, and declaring an emergency.
That constitutes the first reading on 2025-136. I introduce 2025-137 and ask the clerk to please read it by its title.
2025-137, an ordinance creating Stow Commission on Ranked Choice Voting, delineating the composition and specifying the powers and duties thereof, and declaring an emergency.
That constitutes the first reading on 2025-137. I introduce 2025-140 and ask the clerk to please read it by its title.
2025-140, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to make and enter into a contract with ProTech Systems Group, Inc. for the SCADA system upgrade without the necessity of public bids, and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
I move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Motion on the floor to suspend the rules. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Noes, abstentions, rules are suspended. Is there a motion to adopt?
Move to adopt.
Moved and seconded to adopt. Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Baranek?
Yes.
McIntyre?
Yes.
Reel?
Yes.
Pioka?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Coffee?
Yes.
2025-140 has been adopted and will take effect according to its terms. I introduce 2025-141 and ask the clerk to please read it by its title.
2025-141, a resolution granting a signage variance to the City of Stow owner to permit the construction of a freestanding sign on the property located at 3760 Darrow Road, parcel number 5610310.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Move to suspend the rules.
Moved and seconded to suspend the rules. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. Noes, abstentions, rules are suspended.
I move to adopt.
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Baranek?
Yes.
McIntyre?
Yes.
Reel?
Yes.
Pioka?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Coffee?
Yes.
2025-141 has been adopted and will take effect according to its terms. I introduce 2025-142 and ask the clerk to please read it by its title.
2025-142, an ordinance amending certain sections of COS, particularly to add section 1145.15 COS entitled Supplementary Regulations for Drive-Through Facilities to include bypass lane requirements for all drive-through facilities in the city.
That constitutes the first reading on this item, and I will set a public hearing for this on September 11th at 5:30 p.m. S, T, U, V, all remain in committee. I introduce 2025-147 and ask the clerk to please read it by its title.
2025-147, a resolution pursuant to Article 22 of the Charter of the City of Stow, ratifying the approval of 2026 capital improvement plan and declaring an emergency.
That constitutes the first reading. I introduce 2025-148 and ask the clerk to please read it by its title.
2025-148, an ordinance amending Chapter 115 COS entitled Personnel Policies and Procedures and Payroll and declaring an emergency.
Well, is there any action on this item? Okay. I introduce ordinance 2025, that constitutes its first reading for 2025-148. I introduce 2025-149 and ask the clerk to please read it by its title.
2025-149, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to make and enter into a surety services contract with Stow Monroe Falls City School District and declaring an emergency.
That constitutes the first reading for 2025-149. I introduce 2025-150 and ask the clerk to please read it by its title.
2025-150, an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise and solicit bids on behalf of the City of Stow for the Seasons and Allen Traffic Signal Project, authorizing and adopting plans and specifications prepared for the City of Stow, therefore, and authorizing the mayor to make and enter into contracts and related documents for said services so long as proper authorization is first obtained in accordance with the section 173.05 COS and declaring an emergency.
I move to suspend the rules.
Motion on the floor to suspend the rules. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Noes, abstentions, rules have been suspended.
Move to adopt.
Moved and seconded to adopt. Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Baranek?
Yes.
McIntyre?
Yes.
Reel?
Yes.
Bioka?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Coffee?
Yes.
2025-150 has been adopted. Will take effect according to its terms. I introduce 2025-151. Ask clerk to please read it by its title.
2025-151, a resolution authorizing the mayor of the City of Stow to file an application for projects to receive congestion mitigation air quality CMAQ funds and declaring an emergency.
I move to suspend the rules.
Motion on the floor to suspend the rules. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Noes, abstentions, rules are suspended.
I move to adopt.
Moved and seconded to adopt. Discussion. Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Baranek? McIntyre?
Yes.
Reel?
Yes.
Bioka?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Coffee?
Yes.
2025-151 has been adopted and will take effect according to its terms. I introduce 2025-152 and ask the clerk to please read it by its title.
2025-152, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to make and enter into a contract with Independence Business Supply for furniture and for the finance department without the necessity of public bids and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Moved and seconded to suspend the rules. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Noes, abstentions? Did I hear something?
No.
You called, roll call, please.
Baranek?
No.
McIntyre?
No.
Reel?
Yes.
Bioka?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Coffee?
That constitutes the first reading for 2025-152. That completes our legislative agenda. Next up, bill listing. I move to pay the bills.
Second.
Moved and seconded to pay the bills. Bill listing for July 10th, 2025. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
No abstentions. The bills are paid. I will make a motion to authorize the president of council or his designee to sign the bill listing for July 24th, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Noes, abstentions, that motion carries. Is there anything else to come before tonight's city council meeting?
Move to adjourn.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Noes, abstentions,